So depression is good for the body. Depression is a natural way for the body to heal itself. But we decide, always like to say, nope, here's some medication, take this medication and snap out of it. That's like somebody who's trying to sleep and they're tired, they're druggy, and you tell them, oh, you gotta stay awake, you gotta stay awake. Here's some medication, here's some caffeine, here's some medication that's gonna keep you up. Hey, you gotta run, you gotta be on the treadmill. The more you do that, the more harm you're doing to the brain, the more confusing you're confusing the brain. Now, it's so easy for us to say, hey, some chemicals in your brain, that this one causes this one causes this one makes you happy, this one makes you sad, so we have to give you medicine to increase this and increase that. But the brain has a natural way to do things. Let me give you an example. When you're standing up, the atmospheric pressure is from here to here. So that's the pressure. Now, if you have low blood pressure, or your blood pressure is low, your brain usually shuts off. And when that happens, you fall. When you fall, you're like this. Now the atmospheric pressure is from here to here. So the brain knows that if you're standing up, the blood has to flow from your body all the way up, down, all the way up, down. But when you're laying down, the only pressure is this. So a small blood pressure can help you function. The only problem is when you pass out by standing and you may hit your head. The brain hasn't found out a way to make the body fall in a safe position. Maybe when people fall, if the natural instinct was to go like this, when you're dizzy, you go like this and you fall, then a lot of people would not have head injury when they fall. But the brain hasn't yet figured out how to make people fall like this by holding your head and falling on the floor. When you are depressed, there's something going on in your brain. You have to let it ride out rather than give the person medication. When someone is born, kids are usually selfish. It's a default setting to be selfish. We as society are the ones that are telling people, hey, you know what? You got to be nice to people to function as a unit, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But remember, when you introduce a foreign information to the brain that goes against the default setting, it's going to cause a problem. So when somebody who's initially, they tend to be solo. Now we're telling them, hey, you have to be open, you have to be nice to people so that everybody can like you. Now they do that. And then one day they go on the internet and they write something. Now everybody gets mad at that person. We've already told that person that you're supposed to be liked, and they've built themselves to be liked. And now all of a sudden they see all these people writing negative stuff to them. And then they go, oops, that's bad. They channel themselves back and go and are depressed. And we're telling them, well, that's your fault. They can't snap out of it because the body is going into the default mode. And now we're telling them, you know what? Here's some medication to put you in a better mood, this and that, yada, 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 yada. But that same person, if we had let them to be by themselves solo to begin with, they would have never have felt the need to change their perception of information coming to their brain. So if they woke up and they say, okay, because when everybody writes stuff about that person, they're feeling that, okay, the whole community is against them. It's one thing if they only feel, okay, it's this one person against them, it's this one person. But when everybody writes stuff, now they feel, okay, this is not usual. This is strange, because their brain is telling them, hey, you are the odd one. And they cannot reconcile both things. So they stay troubled. Another example, when a baby is born, baby can touch anything in the house, the tables, the TV, the remote control, whatever it is. But once the baby goes to touch the stove, remember, everything in the house is foreign to the baby or a little kid. Once the toddler goes to touch the stove, the parent says, oh, no, don't touch that, that's hot. Imagine if the parent can have a numbing agent that the parent can put on their hand and put on the baby's hand, so that the parent can touch the hot object and doesn't get burnt, and the baby does the same. Do you think the baby would have natural fear of a stove or heat? No, because natural to them, it would be okay. So we as a society have now said, okay, if you touch this stove, you're gonna get burned. We introduced that to the brain to tell the brain, nope, you can't touch this. So the brain has that information that we've introduced, but there's a natural setting in the brain, and natural default setting in the brain that's still there with this new information. So the person that we've told the stove is gonna burn you if you touch it, it's gonna burn you. Guess what happens? The person faints and passes out, becomes unconscious. That same person, the arm falls on the stove. When the arm is on the stove, do you think that the person is going to pull back? No, they are unconscious. So the hand is there. So the same brain cannot tell them, remove your hand from the stove, because that's the default setting. So this is the exact same thing with depression. When there's a brain has a default setting. And now when you give the brain something, medication to change that, you've altered the natural progression of that healing. If you don't let the brain to heal properly through that period, then the person is going to be depressed again. That's number one. So if somebody is sleeping and you wake them up and you tell them run right away, they're not going to be able to do that. They need the natural progression. They need the natural timing to be able to go from sleepy to start to run. Same thing if they're working hard, they're running, playing sports, they're tired, they need time to reboot. So depression is a natural way for the body to heal itself. It's one of those things that the brain has to do, has to put people through. And when you give them medicine to snap out of it, you're causing more problem and more problem. Now, the thing might work for some people, but now you have this circle, up, down, up, down, up, down. So I think, in my own opinion, that society needs to come up with a better way to let people accept depression as okay. Because you cannot alter the natural way the body is acting and say, okay, that's fine, or and think that's not going to cause a problem.